is what I call the 10%. I call it 10 in 10. 10% in 10 days, 10% in 10 sessions. You're just going to get a lot of value off of this. Now, we may be getting ahead of ourselves if you're not close to your race, because the things that I'm going to share with you here are things that you can do on race day to really, especially for the marathon, these are game changers, okay? I'm going to share with you race day tactics, and not race tactics. These are performance tactics. Then I'm going to share with you two other things that are kinds of workouts that you can do that are going to give you a lot of bang for your buck when you do them in the specific phase. Remember, specific phase is where it's all at, really, okay? I'm going to tell you how to make sure that you're doing that. Now, you have a structure for knowing, okay, in my specific phase, my mileage is going to stop increasing. I'm going to maintain it, okay? My speed work is going to be only a little bit faster than race pace, and it's going to be kind of long. And my long runs are going to be only a little slower than race pace and pretty darn long. And you're going to throw in maybe a little bit of other intervals, tempo runs, hill intervals, and you're going to maintain with your hill sprints. Okay, that's pretty high level stuff. And these last two workouts, they're going to take it. I'll tell you that adding in one of these workouts, and I did it 2 times. It took 3 minutes. It took 4 minutes off of my marathon on the same course. It was Boston, 2014 and 2015. I took 4 minutes off of my time, same course, by doing one different workout. And the crazy thing is that I was running less mileage, and I just added in this workout. And I'm going to share that with you, okay? So here are the 3 parts of the 10%. First one, let's talk about race day. Now, I want to talk to you about nutrition. I'm not going to tell you what to eat. If you want to do that, we can do it on our one-on-one, of course. That's a long conversation. What I am going to tell you is how to eat, whatever it is that you choose to have. And I'm going to give you a couple of secret weapons here, okay? Boom. Here we go. We're going to do this chronologically. So leading up to your race, let's say that your race is at noon on Saturday, okay? Here's a couple hacks for you. Okay, I'm going to write these down so I keep myself on track here. You've heard of carbohydrate loading before? Okay, carbohydrate loading, is it true? Does it work? I'm going to show you how to carbohydrate load effectively. Now, why do we want to carbohydrate load? All right, when you're using fuel to run, you're using one of 2 things, basically. You're using either sugar or fat. Now, even a guy as skinny as me has enough fat on my body, right? I'm pretty skinny. I have enough fat on me to fuel me to run clear across the United States. You have enough energy. There's a lot of energy in there, but it takes a whole lot of oxygen to metabolize that fat and turn it into energy. It takes a lot. So it's not the most efficient. If you want to go fast and you're running, you don't want to use fat. You don't want to use all fat because you just can't go fast. You're using fat when you sleep and when you sit around. Maybe right now you're using more fat. Okay, when you run, you use sugar. It's your body's preferred fuel source. Guess what? Even if you're going to burn fat or even protein, you convert it into sugar before you burn it. So you need the sugar. It's how the cells work, okay? That's how the tissues work. So I'm going to share with you carbohydrate loading because let's say the average runner, you or me, we're not elite level. We have about, write this down in your notes, write down carbohydrate loading, and then I want you to write 90 minutes. You have 90 minutes worth of hard exercise where you can fuel it with sugar that's in your muscles, circulating in your blood a little bit, and then stored in your liver as glycogen. Glycogen is just a complex form of stored glucose, stored sugar, okay? And you're going to burn that when you run. You're going to go out for a 20-minute run. Well, you just burned up some glycogen in your muscles and in your blood. Did you run out? Nope. You're fine. What if you ran 90 minutes really hard? Well, you'd burn up the sugar in your muscles and in your blood, and you'd go to your liver for reserves, and you would use up almost all of that over 90 minutes. And then what happens? By the way, you can push that through training up to about 2 hours, but that's the range. You're not going to go hard longer than 2 hours. Now, what happens when you run out of glycogen? Do you just like die? No. You hit the wall. So I'm going to put this air quotes, hit the wall. People say hit the wall in like a 5K or something like that, meaning that it got really hard really quick. Okay, hitting the wall is a term that's used to describe when you change from burning sugar to burning fat. So when you're burning the sugar during these 90 minutes, you're running along, sugar gives you a lot of energy, not that much oxygen needed. Some, but not a lot. And you're getting all this energy. Now you run out of it. You've burned it all. So your body's going to say, I got to keep going. I'm going to burn fat. That's what's left over now. So you burn some fat. Instead, it takes 4 times the amount of oxygen to metabolize fat, a molecule of fat, as it does sugar. Now you have to breathe 4 times. You have to have 4 times as much air in your lungs, but you can't do that. So you slow down pace instead. You slow down dramatically. And I mean dramatically. When you hit the wall, you really hit the wall. I've hit it before in marathons, and I'll go from 645 miles, 645, 645, 645. I start to hit the wall, and I hit 715, 745, and then I'm running 830. That's a pretty significant change. And it happens within a mile or two. It happens really quick. So that's why you want to do 2 things here. You want to maximize the amount of sugar that you can store in your body, and you want to teach your body to conserve the sugar that you have and burn a little bit of fat earlier on, and not just switch, but burn more fat and conserve the sugar. Make sense? And that's what these 3 tricks are for. I'm going to show you how to do it. There are some long-term approaches here, but this is how you can hack it. All right. So 3 days out from your race, this is when you want to start carbohydrate loading. If you do it before that, it's not going to make much difference. 3 days out, all you want to do is increase the percentage, eat the same amount of calories, guys. You don't need to eat more. You don't need to stuff yourself. Just have a higher percentage of your calories come from carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Now, I'm not talking, when people hear carbohydrates, they think carbs are bad, and they're thinking refined carbs, okay? I'm not talking about pasta even, or crackers or flour, nothing like that. I'm not saying not have those. That's a deeper conversation. I'm just saying eat the carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates, my favorites, come in whole plant forms. So I eat a lot of fruit. Fruit's also great because it's going to keep you hydrated, and you get all your micronutrients, and you get a lot of antioxidants. Okay? And it's anti-inflammatory, but you get a lot of carbohydrates. Vegetables. Yeah, you get a lot of fiber and other stuff too, but it's mostly carbohydrates. A little bit of protein, a little bit of fat. Yep, even a banana has a little bit of fat and a little bit of protein. Just enough, actually. It's great. You can also eat potatoes. Sweet potatoes are my favorite. Now, they're great because you're getting a lot of carbohydrate, but you're getting it in a whole plant form. Okay? You're getting all the fiber as well. Fiber is really important when you're training. We're going to talk about fiber in just a second here, okay? So I want to encourage you to just do that. Now, that's 3 days out. Now, 1 day out from your race, you can do this 24 to 36 hours. Here's a hack for you, okay? You guys are going to love this. Nobody's teaching this, okay? This is amazing. I'm so happy I get to deliver this to you because you're not going to find this anywhere else, okay? And this really is great, and it really works. Here it is. 24 to 36 hours out, what you want to do is go for a run, and you want to run about 4 at the end of your run. You want to make sure you're really warmed up. We don't want to be pulling a muscle here or getting injured before the race, guys. So warmed up. And then I want you to run about 400 meters, quarter of a mile, and I want you to do it pretty darn fast. It's not a sprint. It's about a pace you could hold for about a mile, maybe a little faster. It's pretty fast. Why do we do that? Here's what you're going to do. Here's the prescription. So write this down. You have 90 minutes of stored glycogen. Now you have a couple bullet points. Bullet point number 1 is 3 days out. Increase the percentage of carbohydrates. Okay. Now bullet point number 2, 24 to 36 hours out. Do a warm up, maybe 3 miles for a marathon, right? Whatever it is, whatever feels good to you. And then you're going to run 400 meters fast, not all out, not sprint, just fast, about mile race pace. Now, what you're doing here, I'll tell you what to do and then I'll tell you why. Immediately after you complete the 400 meters, let's say within 20 minutes, you don't have to cross the finish line and then stuff your face. Certainly within 20 minutes, sooner the better. You want to eat a high carbohydrate meal. This is a huge hack. This is why you want to do it. Okay? And this is going to lead into our next hack that we're going to have. And it comes down to insulin in your body. So, when you're just at rest, you have some insulin going around in your blood. Now, what insulin does is, here's a molecule of sugar. Okay? It's in your blood. Insulin comes along and says, come here, you, and pulls it inside of the muscle where it can be used for fuel. So you have a little bit of insulin in your blood all the time, higher or lower, depending on if you ate, if you exercised, whatever. Now, when you go run, your body's going to start to put out more insulin. And the reason is because your body says, oh, we need to exercise and we need energy right now. I better get as much energy as I can that's available in the blood to me. That glycogen from your liver that's getting put into your blood, I need to go get it and bring it to the muscle. So as you exercise, your insulin levels are going to go up, and they'll go up for about 20 minutes before they plateau. So you go do your easy run, about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. Now your insulin levels have gone up, and then you go run kind of hard, kind of fast. And what that does is says to your body, not only are my insulin levels up, but this guy or this girl is going to do something hard. I better put a lot more insulin in there. So you're going to do that 400 meters, only 400 because we don't want to make you tired at all. Anybody can run 400 meters at a mile pace and not have it be that big a deal, right? You do that, now your insulin levels spike even more. Now guess what? Your insulin levels will stay high for about 20 minutes after you stop running, and then they'll go back to baseline. While your insulin levels are high, you eat carbohydrates. I suggest complex form of carbohydrates, guys. I'm not talking about white pasta or bread. You can if you want. Fruits, potatoes, carrots, hummus, beans, lots of calories, good calories there. Lots of carbohydrate, lots of protein in there too, actually. What you're doing, now your insulin level's high and you put in carbohydrates and the insulin's going to go crazy and say, gimme, 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 and pull it into your muscles and in your liver. This is what you want. This is carbohydrate loading. This is maxing out the level of carbohydrate that is stored in your liver and in your muscles. Now you just turned, I said it, you had 90 minutes of stored glycogen. Well, guess what? If you did have, remember it's a range, 90 minutes to 2 hours. If you had 90 minutes in there, by doing that, well, now you have 94 minutes in there, or 98 minutes worth of running in there. Ooh, that's great. That's 4 to 8 more minutes that you'll have running at race pace rather than running at I bonked pace. And the difference can be like 2 to 4 minutes per mile. So that can save you 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes in your marathon. That one little hack right there. That's incredible. Okay, that's one huge hack for you. I want you to also put another bullet here. Bullet point. Now we're talking about fiber. So fiber is only existing in plant materials. Okay? Fiber is really necessary. We need it to keep things moving through our intestine, our body, keep things clean. It's very important. But the more fiber you have, also the more bulk there's going to be and the more poop you're going to have, right? So let's talk about poop. Now, when you're in your marathon, a 5K, 10K, you probably don't have to stop and poop most of the time. A marathon, sometimes you might have to. It's a long time out there. And running kind of jostles things around and gets things moving. So yeah, I encourage you to get up early on race day and make sure you get all of that out of you. But here's 2 advantages that you can have. Within the 24 hours leading up to your race, I really don't even do 24 hours because I want to have my fiber in my plants. But even just the dinner the night before, you want to minimize the fiber. And the reason you do this is twofold. One is you're going to have less bulk in your intestine when you go running, which means you're less likely to have to stop to poo. And that could cost you a minute or 2 or 3 or 10, who knows, right? And second is that, write this down. Another bullet point is you write down 2 seconds per mile per pound. So if you were to shed a pound of body weight, or if you were carrying a 2-pound weight on your, as a clothing or something like that, it will slow you down about 2 seconds every mile. So we have anywhere from 1 to 5, seriously, pounds of poo inside of us at any time. So if you minimize your fiber and you get it out, and you now have 1 or 2 pounds less of fiber sitting in your intestine, well, you will run 2 to 4 seconds per mile faster. Okay, that's 1 to 2 minutes in a marathon right there. That's a lot. I'll take that. And you didn't have to stop to poo. That's 1 or 2 or 10 minutes there too. So we're up to maybe a 3 or 4 minute gain in performance. At least a 2 minute gain in performance right there. Okay. So foods that I like to do this, I still like to keep it plant-based and get all the nutrition that I can, but I go higher calorie. Higher calorie means less bulk. You have to eat less, so you get less fiber. I love dates. Dates high in carbohydrate. Lots of energy in there, but in a tight little wallop of a package, right? I like dates. I like banana, date, almond butter smoothies. You're getting a lot of carbohydrate, getting some protein, a little bit. Hydrating. The bananas have a good amount of fiber, but I'll make it heavy on the dates. Okay. And then again, potatoes. I'm not a big fan of oil, but I will have some oil with them just because it's a lot of calories and there's no fiber in oil. Okay. I'm not promoting eating a lot of oil. I'm saying if you're going to have some anyway, dinner the night before, a little bit of it is a good way to get the calories and minimize the fiber. Okay. So now you have a couple of really awesome hacks right there. Let's go into once the gun goes off in your race, what should you do? Well, let's rewind just a little bit. What should you be doing on the starting line? Assuming you're warmed up and everything, should you be drinking your Gatorade or eating your bananas or dates or gels right up till the gun goes off? Wouldn't that make sense? Fuel until the last second and then go? You think it would make sense, but it does not. It will hurt your performance. Here's why. When you take food in, your insulin levels need to respond to it, okay? But you're not running yet, so your insulin levels aren't up. So you're going to kind of screw yourself over just a little bit, not a lot, it'll be a little bit, by eating too close to when the gun goes off. Because you're going to take energy and you're going to put it into digestion before your insulin has a chance to really respond. So here is what you can do. It's a very small tweak, okay? Have a full breakfast. You don't want to go hungry, right? I like minimizing fiber for breakfast. Personally, even for a marathon, I just juice and I drink lots of juice. I get all my calories, lots of hydration, lots of electrolytes, almost no fiber. This is what I personally like to do. And maybe something for some substance, maybe like an avocado or 1 banana or something like that, right? However you want, minimum fiber. Then you want to stop eating 90 minutes before the gun goes off. This won't matter in like a 5K or a 10K as much. Marathon, endurance activities, this really matters. Stop eating. And the reason you stop eating is to let your insulin levels kind of chill, relax, and let the food get the F out of your stomach. Because it's not going to be good. It's going to slosh around. Could give you side stitches, cramps. That's another story. Just trust me. Let the food kind of get out of there. Let your insulin levels return to normal. It takes about 90 minutes. Don't eat anything really heavy that's going to stick around there, like bacon and egg and cheese omelet in the morning like that. It may still be in there, okay? High water content fruit that's going to hydrate you, feel fresh, and get out of your stomach quickly. 90 minutes. Then the gun goes off for your race. When do you eat? You're going to have maybe gels. You're going to have maybe food, maybe drinks. When do you start to take them? The answer is 5K. So that should be another bullet point under these hacks here for nutrition. 5K in, take your first nutrition, whatever that is, first food. For a marathon, I personally like just gels. I like Huma gel. I like Goo Roctane gel. Whatever you like. Longer races, I'll eat food. Dates, bananas, watermelon juice, oranges, whatever you prefer. You take it 5K in. What that does is gives you enough time for your insulin levels to sort of spike so that now when you eat something, you're ready to absorb it. And gels, you'll actually absorb pretty quickly, maybe within 15 minutes or so. And it'll give you a chance to take it, pull it into the muscles, and use it, as opposed to have it sit there and cause all kinds of problems. Okay? And then how often should you eat after that? Well, contrary to what you may read, there is no set prescription for this. It is an individual thing. And the reason it's individual is not because we're just so individual, but we do have individual diets and preferences. For example, if you're used to a higher sodium diet or a lower salt diet, or if you eat a lot of dense kind of processed foods versus a lot of water content foods, you're going to need to eat different things at different times. So here is the gold standard. The gold standard is that you don't want to run out of glycogen. Okay? So let's assume that you train really well and you've stored up your glycogen and maybe you have 2 hours. You're not going to get much more than that. So let's assume you get 2 hours worth of stored sugar in your body. Well, how fast are you running? I don't know. If you calculate how many miles you've run at whatever pace. So 2 hours, 120 minutes, whatever. You're running 6-minute miles, whatever it is. I'm not gonna do an example here because y'all are running different times. But you got 2 hours worth. Think of whatever mile you're at the 2 hour mark. Okay, maybe that's 20 miles. How many miles do you have left? From 20 to 26, you've got 6 miles, 6.2, right? You need about 100 calories per mile. That's rough. Depends on your body weight. Depends on some things. It's about 100 calories per mile. Okay. So if you have 6 miles to go, that means you need to get 600 calories somewhere. You stored up 2 hours worth. For you, that was maybe 20 miles. I don't know. And you got 6 miles to go, which means you need 600 calories to come from somewhere. Now, guess what? Some of that is going to come early on from teaching your body, and this is our next hack here, from teaching your body to burn more fat earlier. So you can cut some of that off. How much? It's going to depend on how much you do these workouts. I'm going to tell you these 2 workouts that are coming up. But let's say you did enough to cut it down. Let's just hypothetically make this, instead of 6 miles, 4 miles. Now, you don't know for sure. You never know. Race day, things can happen. But on average, you're going to probably hit the wall with about 4 miles to go if you don't do anything. So how do you mitigate that? How much do you need to eat is what we're getting at. Well, you need to have at least 400 calories in that race somewhere to push that wall back, right? I suggest that if you need 400 calories, you take them as early in the race as you can. After 5K, right? Load them slightly towards the beginning. And here's why. As you get more tired, more and more of your energy is going to go into your brain, into your legs as you get more fatigued, and it becomes harder to digest something. So 100 calories of goo taken at mile 10 is going to be absorbed much more easily than 100 calories of goo taken at mile 20. Same calories, you're not going to absorb nearly as much. Take them earlier on. Trust me, take them early. Don't take all of them in one shot. Just taper them instead of every 5K or 10K. Take them earlier so that you're almost taking nothing from 22 to 26 or something. Okay? So that's how you determine how much you need to eat. Assume if you've done your training really well, what mile are you going to hit at about the 2 hour mark? How many miles do you have left? However many miles that is, times that by 100 for calories. That's how many calories you should get in the entirety of your race. Maybe a little bit less because you're going to do workouts that are going to help. Or maybe you go out a little bit slower in your race. You run a negative split. You go out a little, the first half is slightly slower than the second half. That's good because you will burn more fat earlier on and save the sugar for later, okay? But that's pacing tactic. We're not going to talk about pacing here. We can do that in our Q&A if you want. All right. Finally, when it comes to nutrition, check this out. Glucose versus fructose. Now look at that little highway there, that 2-lane highway. Let's say that at the bottom of our screen is where you are, and at the top of the screen is where you want to deliver. No. Let's say that you are at the bottom of the screen, you're sitting on the road right there, and you're waiting for delivery trucks to come and give you as much sugar as you possibly can. And on the highway is glucose. Glucose has a major highway path from when you eat it to get to your muscles. You have some pathways that will just take it, like insulin coming in and getting it, and it will get delivered to your muscles pretty well. But you don't need to have glucose. There are other forms of sugar. You could have fructose, you could have lactose, you could have sucrose, galactose, lots of kinds of sugars, simple and complex. But glucose is what your body really wants. But look at this road here. You're at the bottom of it, waiting for these deliveries. Now you have all these delivery trucks. You're taking in your goos. You're taking in your Powerade or whatever it is, okay? And you can only have so many cars coming down that highway, coming towards you, delivering you sugar. And to get more sugar, you just have to wait longer for more cars to come, right? Wrong. You can cheat. You can get more sugar than your body is able to absorb in glucose. And here's how you do it. That highway, look at the little dirt road off to the right. Now imagine you've got these semi-trucks coming down the highway delivering glucose. But on the little dirt road, you have a little beep, 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 a little pickup truck coming and delivering you fructose. Okay? Now what I mean by this is that glucose is the most available, most ready, it's the best form of energy you can have for running at high intensity, but there's a limit for how fast you can absorb it all. What you can do, and that limit is based off of your metabolism, okay? We won't get into that too much, but what you can do is take a different kind of sugar, fructose, which is a fruit sugar, and you can have some of that too. Now when you have that, guess what? Fructose has a different pathway through the body in order to get to your muscle. So you can actually deliver not just the semi-trucks, you can deliver the semi-trucks plus a little pickup truck come in every now and then. Now it's minimal. If you took only fructose, it wouldn't be ideal. It would cost you energy to convert it to what you needed in the long term. But if by adding in just a little bit, you're actually going to get, instead of being able to absorb 100 calories per half an hour or whatever, now you can absorb 110 calories per half an hour. Oh yeah, that is a hack. Now, elite athletes know this. Now, you've seen them at races. They have their own custom bottles because they've been tested for exactly what they respond to, and they have their own perfect mix in there. But for you, the science has basically been done, and you can get products that already have a mix of glucose and fructose. Here are some for you. One of them is GU, G-U, especially their Roctane product. Roctane, I'm not going to go into products here. Roctane product is basically the premium level product. It has the same calories, but it has more of everything else. Like it has more electrolytes, or it has more caffeine, if it has caffeine in it, okay? GU, most of the GU products and the hydration GU products have glucose and fructose. You want both. And the percentages, they vary, but I recommend 90% glucose, 10% fructose. You want a little bit. If you have a lot of fructose, it would give you diarrhea. But a little bit, you're going to be fine. You're not going to get diarrhea from it. Other products, there are two drink products that are really good. One of them is called Tailwind. Now, if you've heard of Tailwind, they have a proprietary blend that I like a lot. Not just taste, like it's a good product. They have glucose and they have fructose. So if you get other things like if you just drink Gatorade or something, well, you're just getting glucose or sucrose, just table sugar basically, no fructose. So you can't get that extra 10%. So I encourage you to either get a product that has both or take a regular product, but every now and then have a little sip of juice or orange slice or something like that, just a little bit, okay? And you're going to be able to hack that. And you're going to be able to push the wall way back, so far back that it's out of sight and it's past the finish line and that you won't hit the wall. And I'll tell you what, if you implement these things, you will not hit the wall. I can't guarantee because it's going to come down to your training too, but if you are optimally trained and if you do the workouts I'm going to share with you right now and you do these tricks, minimize the fiber, carbohydrate load by spiking your insulin, stabilize your insulin by not eating 90 minutes before, don't eat until 5K in, From then on, calculate how many calories you need, take them front loaded, negative split your race to allow more energy for digestion over metabolism early on, and use glucose and fructose. You do those things and you're going to eliminate the wall. Squish it. Just like grape, Danielson. Squish, just like grape. Okay? For you Karate Kid fans out there. Now, I'm going to give you 2 workouts here, and these are your last little takeaways. These are awesome. So awesome. Okay? One of them we've already touched on, and that is downhill running. Here's how you do it. I'll tell you that I've done this twice, and I did only 1 workout, and I had massive results. I ran just about 10 weeks ago. I ran a 50-mile race, and I knew that the first 15 miles were downhill, and then it was going to be flat and then kind of up and down, okay? And I did 1 workout that beat me up so hard. It was about 4 weeks out from the race. I went up onto the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is where near I live, right? It's in the mountains. And there's this section of road that's just one big hill. It's just a big mountain. And it goes there's a 10-mile stretch where it's just one big slope. So I had my friend drive me to the top of it. I did a little 2 or 3 mile warm up, and then I did 10 miles kind of as hard as I could. I just enjoyed it, but I was cruising 10 miles downhill. I don't recommend doing this at first, okay? But I want to share this because what it did is, remember we talked about our sarcomeres? Okay, I'll tell you that by the time I made it to mile 5 down that hill, I kind of stopped for a second, pulled over, and my legs were like wobbly and just really hurting. It might have been dumb for me to go that long. I knew I could do it though. So I did, and I'll tell you what, I could have done a long run that was 3 times as long and I wouldn't have been as sore. I could have done speed work that was 3 times as hard and I wouldn't have been as sore. It ripped my calves and my quads, ripped them to shreds basically. Then I recovered. I spent 3 weeks. I ran. I did my long runs, but I could feel that there was some fatigue in there. And then when my sarcomeres got built up, my eccentric muscle, I broke the muscle eccentrically so it could build up really strong. And then when I got to the race, I ran 50 miles with the first 15 being downhill. And did it rip my quads up? No. And maybe a little, but not like it would have if I didn't strengthen them through downhill running. Now, word of caution, when you go downhill, your injury risk goes way high because you have a lot of impact. So I don't recommend doing a 10 miles downhill. Here's what you can do. You only need really a maximum of 3 workouts, 1 to 3 workouts that include a hard downhill component. Now, here's the easiest way to do it, okay? On a treadmill. So some of you guys don't live in the mountains. You can't find a huge downhill. Okay, treadmill. Some treadmills will go downhill, and if they don't, you can take some textbooks and put them under the back of it, and you only really need about a grade that's maybe 3% downhill. Okay? Now, I've done workouts before where I've got on a treadmill and did 13 miles, and I alternate 6% uphill, 3% downhill every half mile. Uphill, downhill, uphill, downhill, uphill, downhill. And I'll tell you what, that ripped my legs up just as much. That was really hard. When you're running at a high intensity, downhill even a little bit, your muscles aren't used to that. Your muscles are not used to doing so much downhill running at a high intensity. And when you do, so that totaled only 6 miles over an entire workout, and it's still a lot. You don't need to do this much. If you're not used to it, a mile or so is really going to be plenty, trust me. But what it's going to do is it's going to strengthen it's going to build more sarcomeres. It's going to strengthen the muscle much more than anything else possibly could. It's going to make you way more resilient and way more powerful on race day. And if your race includes a long downhill, especially at the beginning, where you're going to take it too fast maybe because if you feel good at the beginning, right? Or you're more likely to take it too fast. If your race has a significant downhill, please train on the downhill. Now, again, if you don't have the treadmill, you got to get resourceful here. You got to find a way. You got to find a little hill and run easy up it and hard down it, right? Most people would run hard up it and recover. That would be a great strengthening interval, but it's not a downhill eccentric strengthener. For these, again, do it maybe 6 weeks out, 4 weeks out, and that might be enough for another one 2 or 3 weeks out. Run, and you can run up the hill and then down, kind of not hard, but just real quick, like 5K pace. And then do that a bunch, maybe accumulate a mile or two's worth of downhill running. You'll have a huge gain. Trust me, this is a game changer. It's so huge. I kid you not that you could take minutes, many off of your marathon just by doing this. I took 3 minutes off of a marathon with doing this one workout. And it was around the 3 hour mark, right? So if you're running faster than me, woohoo, you may take 1 minute off or two. If you're running around the 3.5 or 4 or 4.5 or 5 hour marathon, it's going to take off more. I don't know how much. It depends on your fitness level. It could take off 5 or even 10, maybe more, 10 minutes from your marathon. That's amazing, right? With a few workouts. It's really incredible. Okay. Finally, I'm going to give you guys one workout that is going to change the game. Now, we talked about workouts that will change the game from a muscular point of view. We're going to talk about a workout that will change the game from a metabolic point of view. Remember, the metabolism is what supports and fuels the muscles. It's still really important, though, especially in a marathon. Here's one workout that you can do that you probably haven't read about. I learned this from Nate Jenkins, who was one of the top U.S. marathoners about 10 years ago. And then he had back nerve problems and he was out. He's from the same town as me, actually. I learned this from him. He called these alternation runs. Alternate, meaning that alternating back and forth, back and forth. Now, here's what an alternation run is. So make a bullet point. Not a bullet point. This is a new category. Write down alternation run. I'll tell you how to do it. I'm very visual, so go ahead and under alternation run, make a little line, like a horizontal line, and in the middle of it, put a little tick mark, and that is your marathon pace or your race pace, because you might be a half marathoner or a 10K-er. Okay, that's your race pace. Now, what we want to do is we want to teeter back and forth between faster than race pace, slower than race pace, faster than race pace, slower than race pace. So we're going to alternate. That's essentially what we're doing. How much do we want to alternate? An alternation run is done as a long run, possibly as a tempo run if the tempo run is long. So still a long run. But it could be a slightly, if you're used to running 20 miles as a long run, this might be 18 or 16, but it's still long, right? It's a long run. What you do is you do a very solid warm up. Here's my favorite one. 20 miles, 10 miles, easy kind of warm up, maybe gradually increasing pace. 10 miles, turn around, 10 miles back, alternating. Now you can alternate every mile or every half mile. I like every half mile. You do half a mile faster than marathon pace, half a mile slower, half a mile faster, half a mile slower, all the way back. Now it's really important that you get the how much faster or slower right. Here's how you do it, okay? Let's use a hypothetic 9 minutes per mile. So if that's your marathon pace or your race pace, 9 minutes per mile, how much faster should the faster ones be? The faster one should be not, so let's call it 8:50, 8:45 to 8:50 per mile, okay? So you're 10 to 15 seconds faster per mile. Then on the other side, on the slower end, you want it to not, so equal would be if it were 9:10 to 9:15. Nope, make it a little slower. So 9:20 to 9:30. Okay? Now what you've done is if you do this and you alternate, what's going to happen with your body is when you hit that faster one, that's faster than marathon pace, just a little bit, you're going to say to your body, send a signal that says, hey body, I need you to get really efficient at using fat and sugar at this pace. And your body's going to say, wait a second, this is a little bit faster than is ideal. So I better learn to hold on to some sugar a little bit. It's going to give it that stimulus. But if you did it too long without these alternations, you would just get tired and poop out and hit the wall, right? So you go back to a slower pace in order to teach your body to recover. And now when you're at a slower pace, you're going to shift over to fat metabolism. And what you're saying to your body is, hey, even though we have a high demand output, don't worry, I'm going to give you plenty of oxygen. You can use some of this fat. It's okay. You don't need to use all the sugar because we're going to slow down. Here's all this oxygen because you're running slower. You get more oxygen per mile, right? Here's a flood of oxygen for you. Go ahead, burn up some fat. Don't use all the sugar. And then when you start to recover, whoosh, back into just a little bit, not a lot faster, because then you would be too much, just a little faster. And you're going to burn, your body's going to say, wait a second, I thought you said, and that's going to start to burn, start to tap into sugar. And right when it starts to tap into sugar, you're going to go, whoo, here's a ton of oxygen for you. It's okay. Use the fat, use the fat, use the fat. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to shift your metabolism from using, I'm going to make this up here, 90% sugar and 10% fat to 80% sugar and 20% fat at the beginning. That's huge because that right there pushes the wall back from 20 miles to 22 or 23 miles. That right there, if you could do that, imagine 3 miles of running marathon pace versus 3 miles of running hitting the wall pace. Might be 2 minutes per mile difference. So that's 6 minutes that you just shaved off with one workout. Now you can repeat that workout. I suggest you do that several times. That can be during a specific phase. You can do that 3 times maybe. You can use that as your long run. It's a great workout. Do it 1 to 3 times and you're going to see a massive gain. And when I say massive, I kid you not, I really mean massive, okay? And when you combine this with the fact that you have a specific phase that you built from a pyramid, this is going to rock your world.